Hello and welcome to this video on APDL. Today we're going to be talking about a very important feature for those of you flying augmented operations, and that is the default rest class facility setting. So I'm here on the settings page and I'm going to go to aircraft types, and we're going to create a new aircraft type today. Before we start with that, I want to point out that we have three different areas that a rest facility class can be designated. The first of those is in an aircraft type. So if you fly the aircraft 767 and the default rest class facility on most of or all of those aircraft that you fly at your airline is class 1, then you can tell APDL every time you create a new aircraft or set a new aircraft to the 767 type, assign that aircraft tail number to a class 1 rest facility. So I've set that here, and we can see that that's saved as class 1. Go ahead and create another one. We're going to call this one 757, and let's say at your airline, for whatever reason, those are set to class 2 rest facility usually. Go ahead and save that. So now we have 767 class 1 and 757 class 2. Now every time we add an aircraft to that aircraft type, it will default to that rest class. So if I create a new aircraft here under the 767 type, it defaults to a class 1. I'm going to go ahead and give this a tail number of 123, and I can say, well, this particular aircraft at my company is configured for charter operations or some other type of mission, and for whatever reason the airline chose not to configure that particular tail number with the same rest facility as the rest of the fleet. So this one, let's just say it has class 3. Go ahead and save that, and we see that N123 has a class 3 rest facility, but the 767 type still has a class 1 rest facility. So I can go ahead and create another tail number, and it still defaults to class 1. So what we've shown here is we can have a default rest facility for all aircraft in a particular type. So anytime a new aircraft is created with that type, we assume initially that it has the same rest facility as the default for the type. We can also designate an individual rest facility for a particular aircraft tail number if that one's configured differently. Let's create an aircraft of 757 type. We're going to call this one N234, and that has class 2 rest facility, and I'm going to remember that because N2 is class 2. So let's go back to our leg and set the tail number or the aircraft for this leg as N234, which has a class 2 rest facility. And let's say on this particular flight there is a broken part of the rest facility, the curtain's damaged or something like that, and that causes the rest facility to downgrade to class 3. So I can tap the rest facility row here and set that to class 3, save that, and that will save this particular leg with class 3 rest facility, and it's only applicable to that particular flight. If I go back to the settings page here, 757, aircraft 234, it is still defaulted to a class 2 rest facility. That's because we assume maintenance will repair the damaged item, and it will at some point be turned back into a class 2 rest facility. So you can use that if you have something broken for a particular single leg. Now there's another way that you can assign a rest facility to an aircraft, and that is if you have an aircraft, if you're like me, you let autofill automatically add your aircraft to APDL for you, and I have undefined types set as the default aircraft type, as we can see down here, default aircraft type. So anytime a new aircraft is imported to APDL from autofill, it comes in with no type assigned, so I can set it manually. So in this case, it would have no rest facility added. So I'm going to pick, let's just pick this one here, and it says no rest facility. I'm going to change that to 767, which remember had defaulted to a class 1 rest facility for the entire 767 type. As I select that, we can see that it sets the rest facility to class 1 here, and that makes it nice and quick for you to add the rest facility to aircraft that have previously been imported to APDL, and you're now assigning them to the correct type. Give one more example here. If we're on the leg view, use this second leg here, and this aircraft does not have a rest facility designated. This is the other way. If you have the aircraft auto-filled and imported, you could set a rest class facility without having to go through the settings page. I'm just going to say this one on this leg has class 2, and APDL reminds me that that particular tail number does not have a default rest facility set, and that allows me to designate it at this time. So 382DA, I say OK on class 2, and coming back to settings, now has a class 2 rest facility set. I do want to point out that our legality calculations are still based on, we still show unaugmented for this trip or for this duty period, even though we've set this to a class 2 rest facility, and that's because we have not entered an augmented crew position. So I'll pick a crew member here, save that, and go back to our legality, and now we show 117 augmented. So this does not change the way that augmented operations are calculated or triggered in the app, but it does affect how rest facilities are saved and entered and used within the app. Another part of the, or as part of the rest facility update, we now have cross-check messages that are integrated with the rest facility function, and if you have a leg that does not have a rest facility set, you will get notifications from cross-check to address that. Thanks for watching the video. We hope you enjoy this upgraded feature for augmented operations.